Hello everyone, what's up? This is Matthew Farquharson, the business motivator, and
Mo Maitland, the business analyst.
all right, and this is More for Your Mondays, episode 2, and we have a very interesting topic to speak about today. What's it? What is it, Mo?
So, this week we're going to be talking about putting your boundaries at work. And what we mean is um, talking about today work life balance and work life integration.
All right, that sounds really interesting. Before we go any further, ensure to like and subscribe. Most persons who are watching this channel are not subscribed, so please just hit the subscription, hit the like button, you know, and that can go a far way. So, work life balance and work life integration. Wow, that sounds really interesting. Nowadays, in the pandemic era, we have people working from home, and of course, what we preach here, of course, we mentioned this the last time, working at 9 to 5 as well as your side hustle. Now we're going to go into a deeper look into how you can really balance the two. We're going to start looking at it in a more practical way. So, Mo, can you please start us off this
Yeah,
interesting topic?
Yeah, let's hit it. So just to kind of give you guys some background, like what Matthew was saying, due to the ongoing pandemic, global health crisis, and all the other things that just keep hitting us, many of us have had a hard time transitioning, working from home, working remotely, and our last episode we talked about working a 9 to 5 and a side hustle. So we're having a hard time adjusting to this new normal. And while the dust might have settled for some people, balancing work, side hustles, school, all the other additional extracurricular curricular activities that we work on is still a top challenge for many people. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing how to achieve a healthy levels of work-life balance and integration, and which one can work best for you.
All right, that's great. Okay, so of course, we're going to need to go through some definitions, right? Because
Right.
you might be hearing these terms and you're probably wondering, what are we talking about? All right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna say the first one. We're gonna define work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
So this occurs when a person prioritizes the demands of their career and their life outside of it. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, trying to get that balance between your life outside of the career and the career, but prioritizing both at the same time, right?
Right, right.
Right.
It's really, and it's honestly in the word itself, work-life balance. It's really about finding that true balance between what you do in your professional life and what you do in your personal life, what you do in your side hustle, all these different events and activities that's coming together in your what's considered your life. Coming together and working for you and working out for your best interest, etc. And happening in a set period of time, and a set sequence. So it could be a set number of hours, and set type of events that are happening.
All right.
So
Hold on, Monisha. Just to be a bit more on the practical side.
mhm.
For those who haven't watched it yet, please check out the Business Motivation Podcast, episode 8. Yes, I was talking to Shakara about, you know, her schedule, and she was telling me how ridiculous her schedule was, having so
Yes.
many things to do at home. I think she has a child, she has stuff to do at church and stuff like that, and she still manages her time She said she hasn't perfected it yet, but time management is a big factor. So I would assume that it's the same thing here, that you'd have to have a very good degree of time management in order to pull this off. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we'll go through some of the things that you can think about and do later on in the video. I call those the efforts that you can have in this grand equation of achieving the balance, balancing the equation of work-life balance and integration. But yeah, that's definitely a large portion of it, is balancing your time and, having effective time management.
Okay, and of course we're going to get into how exactly you can do that as the
Mhm.
as we progress in this presentation. But Monifia, what is work-life integration? Just please run us through that one.
Sure. Work-life integration is a little bit different than work-life balance in the sense that you have a little bit more flexibility there. So the definition of work-life integration, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, is involves flexibly blending both personal and professional responsibilities rather than viewing them as two separate entities, like we discussed earlier with the definition of work-life balance. So, you might be looking at, okay, an example of that is, for me personally, I have to integrate some of the personal and professional things. I might one of the examples that I'm thinking about specifically right now is, I might be taking a meeting, and I need to be doing something else while that meeting is going on, but I'm still actively participating, actively listening, etc. So that's just one example of work-life integration, and that might not work for everybody, and so that's also something that we need to be aware of in the definition of work-life integration. It's having more flexibility, but sometimes that can be a little bit more challenging depending on the work you have and
Right.
what you're doing.
Um, just to add to that point, as you were speaking, as you were explaining, I thought about a comparison. So work-life balance has more clear cases of segmentalization of time.
Yes.
So it's more akin to Legos, where you stack things on top of each other, right?
Yes.
So on work-life integration, now everything is merged into one. So it's like Play-Doh. So you
Yeah,
you put two colors together and you mash it together. Uh,
exactly. And you see it
right,
starts to swirl around and you're like, what did I create?
right. And
Yes,
if you
exactly.
have a red Play-Doh and a blue one, you mix together, it becomes purple.
Right.
So that's what, the integration is all about. You're mixing everything together. And I should also mention, it might not be for everyone because to do that, everything has to come into place one time. She mentioned that she's in a business meeting and, she's doing other things, maybe some chores, maybe cooking, something like that.
Eating, like eating lunch while you're doing the meeting. So
So it
all
requires,
important things.
right. So it requires you to be a very good multitasker, right? So
In a sense,
right,
yes.
if you're really good at multitasking, integration might not be as challenging for you.
Right.
So that's great. We've gone through the definitions and,
Mhm.
we now have a better idea of what both methods are. But in your opinion, do you think one is better than the other? Which one is better?
Yeah. So, that's a great question because, after going through the definitions, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, I'm definitely somebody that can do work-life integration. I could be a boss at that. Or you might be thinking, I'm definitely somebody who needs the structure. Like I cannot multitask. I will literally die. But, I think that there's a way to achieve both. And, actually, one's not better than the other. It just depends on the situation. So you might be someone who can toggle back and forth between, or go back and forth between both, concepts in your work day, in your work week. So I do want to mention though that even though one's not better than the other, you have to have one before the other. You can't put the horse before the, you can't put the cart before
Okay.
the horse. And that is, you need to really focus on achieving work life balance first before you can
Okay.
venture out into the realm of
Of
integration.
integration. Okay, so it's basically a step-by-step process because, you know,
Exactly.
based on, I guess, based on how we were defining things before, we don't want to confuse the audience. We were just defining the definitions, right? We're just defining the terms.
Right.
But one actually comes before the other. But can you explain why you have to achieve balance first before integration?
Yeah, that's a good question, Matthew, because you know, and somebody might say to themselves, well, I can do that easy, just sliding into the integration realm pretty easily. And that might be true, but there are some principles and like key things that you learn while you're in that, while you're developing that healthy work-life balance, attributes, attitudes, everything that you do in your schedule, work day or work week, you know, leads up to that. So you become a little bit more seasoned and you're used to these like different things. So work-life integration after reaching the pinnacle of work-life balance um, is like automatically the next step for you. So I hope that answers the question. Does it?
So, so you're saying that integration is basically a more advanced version of balance.
Yes. And it's funny
Okay.
that you put it that way because at the end of the day, when we say work life balance, we're really aiming to achieve work life happiness, which comes after that integration level
Okay.
where you're still being productive, still achieving high levels of performance and all that good stuff. While like kind of climbing up that ladder. And that's what I was saying earlier, you need to develop those skill sets, have those principles in first and those attitudes in place first before you can really achieve this I don't want to use this word, but like utopia of balance between your work, your life, and everything else that's in between.
All right. So I get what you're saying. And that would be very good if everyone could achieve that. I
Yes.
mean, will you achieve it? It's not guaranteed, but we want to get as close to that as possible, right?
Exactly. And we're your business motivator here. Here we go. Part of the goal of this video is to really let you guys know what's going on, but also to give you the tools that will
Right.
equip you to really achieve balance, integration, happiness, euphoria in in those different areas of your life. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Don't click off this video. You definitely want to watch the whole thing because we have some pretty cool resources coming up shortly.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So you mentioned the terms productivity and performance, and
Mhm.
it's clear to me that the more productive you are, the better your overall performance will be, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we're gonna just run through some things that you can do in order to increase your productivity so that in eventually you will increase your performance level. All right.
Eh,
So the first one we have is to determine the ideal expectations and outcomes. And we kind of touched on that, a while ago.
mhm.
And this is something that we've always been saying. set high standards, but don't let those standards be unrealistic. All right.
Right.
So once you have that idealistic goal in mind, which having an idealistic goal doesn't mean it's an easy goal, right? It can be difficult, but it has to be within the realms of possibility. All right. Let's just not go to any outlandish areas now. All right. And you have to, so based on those expectations and goals, you can also have an idea of what outcome you can
Mm-hmm.
get. Because, for example, you might say, all right, if I work at this side hustle, for example, for 3 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
maybe within a month or two, I can start seeing significant income, for example, right? Just an example, right? So you make a prediction on the outcome. You might say, okay, after 5 months, I can earn 100,000, let's just say Jamaican dollars, for example. Just throwing a number out there, right? So determine the expectations and outcomes. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing you can do. So what else can we do, Monifia?
Yeah, and I know we touched on it earlier in the video too, talking about that time management. That could also be plugged into that time management into number one here, of achieving productivity and high levels of performance. In those ideal expectations and outcomes, you're thinking about the time and how you're going to be managing that. So the next thing to think about too is, engage in those candid and open discussions. Be open to discussing, those plans, those that goal, that expectation that you have or that others might have for you. Talk about them, and figure out what both parties are looking forward to, etc. But just being able, essentially, what we're saying is having open dialogue, open communication,
Right,
because you don't want to think about it one way and then the other person is thinking about it another way and then you miss the mark. And you know what can happen from that is rework. And that definitely, if you have to rework, that lowers performance, that lowers productivity. So having open communication is key.
all right. So just to be clear,
Yeah.
you are speaking about this under the context of people working together.
Yes, because I mean, if you have a side hustle, if you have a job, your 9 to 5, you're working with other individuals.
Well,
So if
that's
you're
true.
if you
Yes.
have clients in a side hustle and your main job, you might have clients that you're working with or customers, etc. You have to communicate with them either through email, face to face, maybe more email now with COVID and Zoom, Zoom meetings. But, there's still that level of communication and, you know, you just want to make sure that you're having those discussions with those individuals so that you're not like telling them, my goals and aspirations and dreams for my work life integration plans are, you don't have to be like that, but,
No.
letting people in, letting people in on that, they know what to expect from you and
Right.
what you can expect from them. And so having that communication really helps.
And just to add to that as well, make these points, have these discussions with people that have a similar mindset or at least
Mm-hmm.
respect what you do, you know. Um,
Yes.
episode 7 of the podcast, Busy Motivation podcast, Shadi spoke about the haters.
Yes.
She would mention her business to some people and they would shut it down.
Yeah.
So you have to have these discussions with people who are business minded. They might not,
Mm-hmm.
what your business model might not suit them, but they have a similar mindset to you and they would help supporting you in your cause. All right. Just to get
Yeah.
that out there. Don't just say to any and anybody who might not even care about what you're talking about. So go to people who actually understand what is going on. All right. That's very useful. And that goes into the next section. Establish a
Yes.
network of support, right?
Yes. So
So
so all of these
mhm,
are like feeding into the next thing, like how do
they're
we.
integrated, right?
Yes. You don't know. So it's like all these efforts that we're doing to ensure that we're continuing to have that level of productivity and performance. And for number 3 is establishing a really good network of support. And so, haters aside, those people who are listening to you and who are contributing to your business, who are, you're working with, and, you're doing good work with, every day, every week, you want to have that network of support with them. They know what to expect. You have that good communication, and you also have that good rapport with them, and their support from, yeah, their support basically.
Right. And building a network is always very, very important in business. It can make or break a business,
Exactly.
right? And one of the best things you can do is to network with somebody that is more experienced than you, who, I mean, who has more money than you too. Maybe they can let off a small change, to help your business, if they
Yeah,
believe in
it's
you enough,
true.
if they believe in you enough, right? So yes, do not underestimate the power of a proper network, right? And you
Hmm.
know, truth and in fact is we're talking about having a network alongside, work-life balance and integration.
Hmm.
One thing we can gain from a network, especially somebody who is more experienced, who has done it before, is that you learn from them. How did they achieve balance and integration, right? And
Yes.
you can take lessons from these people and carry on. Or another way it can work out is if they understand what you're doing and they believe in what you're doing,
Hmm.
they will do their best to, for example, get out of your way. For example, if for example this podcast right now, if your goals involved in a podcast, and those who you live with, your roommates, your family, whoever, actually support what you do, you tell them that it's podcast time, and they say okay, and then they go somewhere and they be quiet, for example, for the next
Yes.
half an hour, 1 hour, just to support what you are doing. Even support, even like that, can go a far way, even if
Yeah.
they're not giving you any financial support. Just the fact that they are allowing you to express yourself, that is also support.
Yeah, and I'll give you guys another example of, having that network of support too. In my day job, if I tell my supervisor, hey, I'm going to be in an area where my connectivity is limited, then she can say, okay, we'll make sure that you're not covering a meeting, but just stand by if we have questions for you, etc. So they respect the idea of work-life balance and integration. And anything that's going on, they're ready to support. And this is not just for me, even though I'm awesome, but it's not just me, it's everybody on the team. You're getting that level of support that you need in order to achieve that balance and that integration that you need to be successful.
All right. So the next one is develop a strong organizational structure. And this is one of the most important ones.
Yes.
You have to set things up, guys, based on time, how much time you think it's going to take to finish something.
Mm.
Maybe add a 5 minutes, depending on, if things don't go exactly to plan, stuff like that. You have to structure it step,
Amen.
step
Amen.
by
And
step.
there, and I'll give you an example of an organizational structure that you might be thinking, okay, what is that? I mean, I get, and I need to be organized and do better in my life, but you're probably thinking, what is an organizational structure anyways. And honestly, it's as little as using your Google Calendar. That in and of itself is
That
a
can that would help.
organizational structure.
Setting alarms
Setting alarms. Oh
can be
my
that simple.
goodness.
Yes.
So helpful. So helpful. That's how I remember how to take my medications. I have to set an alarm, to be honest. And,
Right.
and it really does help to have a structure that helps you. And that's in and of itself creating a boundary for yourself that you're like, okay, I'm putting these reminders on my calendar. I'm using these tools and all these gadgets and gizmos to make sure that I can be as productive, perform at my best, and achieve maximum success.
Right. That is very important because all along we've been talking about balance and integration. Without being organized, you can't balance anything. Let's just be real. When
Not
you look
true.
at when all right, when you look at we'll give a strange example here. Fire.
Okay.
Fire. Does fire look balanced to you when it is a bushfire, for example? Does that look balanced to you? It's chaotic, right?
No, it's very chaotic.
But the fire on a Bunsen burner
Mm-hmm.
is organized. You twist the knob, and depending on the amount of fuel you put in it, the fire gets bigger or smaller, or the fire on the stove, right? You have the
Exactly.
knob, but you can turn it up and turn it down. But it's
Exactly.
still fire, right? But it is in a control setting, right?
Exactly.
Not a bushfire that just spreads all about the place.
You don't want a California wildfire, people. That you don't, because if you have that, you just close shop and go home and call it a day.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
having your organizational structure is super important for your mental health. I mean, come on, like it's super key.
Right, exactly. And that goes straight into the next point, which is setting up a system of accountability. What exactly does that mean, Monifi?
Yes. So in all of what we talk about before, remember how I told you like everything is going to trickle into the next thing? So everything that we've talked about so far, setting up accountability from your expectations to having that level of communication, discussion, your support, the structure all feeds into being holding yourself accountable and holding your clients, customers, employees, workers, whomever, family members accountable. And it works both ways. It's a two-way street. Because you're in communication with your support network of people, because you have an organizational structure, all of these things are keeping you accountable. So at any point, you might say, okay, all right, client so and so, I'm going to get back to you in 3 days. Or we have a meeting in 3 days. I use my organizational structure, Google Calendar, for example, to set up a follow up with that person through an invitation. So there's something keeping me accountable to ensure that I follow up with that person and we're maintaining that communication. So I hope that clears it up a little bit what I mean by accountability. The person is keeping you accountable and you're also keeping yourself accountable as well.
Right, and accountability is a really big factor in business, especially when it comes down to clients. Any business that involve direct clients, whether in the product industry or the service industry, because these people are paying, they expect a certain level of performance, as we mentioned before. So, as Moneifia mentioned, you say you're going to get back to the client in 3 days, right? The client is saying, well, that's a lot of days to just do what I'm asking, but okay. You're making a promise, right? So you have to hold yourself accountable to keep that promise. So,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yes, and so in order to execute that promise, you have to be organized. You can't be chaotic to the point where you're doing so many stuff and then, oh, I forgot that I had to meet the client. then you're gonna look stupid, right? So
Yes.
get that organizational structure so that it makes it easier for you to accept accountability. All right. So all the
Yes.
points are related to each other. They are integrated, right?
Yeah.
And just a small plug here. If you do need help with setting up an organizational structure in your business, etc., we're there. We're here to support you. We're here. We can help you with that. All right. Cool. All right. So we have a pop quiz. Can we call it that?
No. Well, yeah, you can do a pop quiz. So this don't want to scare the listeners slash viewers. No. No guys, you're not graded. It's not homework or anything. But we talked a little bit about, how am I making sure that I'm achieving work-life balance and, eventually work-life integration. So as it's being showed on the screen here, I just wanted to point out that um, you can kind of gauge where you are depending on what you're doing. But like I mentioned before, you have to achieve balance before you can have integration. So as a model that will look bad, just an example is you're so flexible, you're just mixing everything into one, but not having that balance or not having those principles behind the balance, you know, it can really affect your productivity and performance levels. So this is a bad example of where you can have too much integration, not enough balance, and things are out of balance basically. Okay, you have some integration, more balance. Okay, you're doing good for yourself there. Good is when you have a, just enough integration where you're able to do things and be flexible, but having more balance than than integration. A great model is having surpass the amount of balance that you need. So really like mastering that work-life balance skill set, and then you can plug in that integration level. Notice what's happening from okay, good to great is integration is not taking over balance. Now, I know that I said earlier that one's not better than the other. They actually just work hand in hand and they actually feed into each other. But what I want you guys to understand is if you're having too much integration and not enough balance, you run the risk of losing your productivity, right? So how you can really understand if you're on the right track to balance and then it up, eventually integration, you can take a few, there are a few quizzes available online for free where you can decide and determine, okay, am I achieving good work-life balance, good integration? Where am I on the scale or spectrum? And I believe that we'll be putting those links in the description for the
Yeah,
viewers. Okay, awesome. So
definitely.
we'll put those links there for you guys. But yeah, take one of those quizzes. It's really helpful to see where you are on the spectrum, and then also what to help you to think about those areas of improvements that you can work on for both integration and balance. Yeah.
Awesome. I probably will take one of those quizzes myself. I know, who knows. um, Going back to the graph now.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like around 60% integration and 40% balance, maybe, right? And then,
Yes.
okay, this is probably 70% balance and 30% integration, maybe 60-40, I don't know. Then it goes to around probably 80% balance and 20% integration. And then 10% integration and about
90%
balance.
balance.
But why does the scale go up? Is it because your productivity normally increases when you have these ratios? Or what is it? What exactly does it mean?
Yeah, and so that's what I was explaining earlier is, the yellow signifies that integration. You're being so flexible. You're cooking every meal on every call. I'm trying to find like the most extreme.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think what you're trying to say is there's a time and place to integrate, right?
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you have to do things, for example, that it's easier to do it meanwhile you're on a video call, for example, right? So it
Yeah.
depends on what you're doing. I guess it's difficult to be on a regular phone call and cook, right? Because next thing you know, the phone dropping on the pot or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would
But
probably be, yeah, go ahead.
but what I wanted to mention though, it's, I didn't want to make it too mathematical for people. I basically wanted to just mention here the big picture is having too much of one, it it doesn't make it I don't want to use the word balance again, but it doesn't make it good, because if you're too balanced and too structured, you run the risk of, being so zoned in on one thing that you miss a meeting, or you miss an appointment, or you miss a call from your client, or you don't get back to them because you're so zoned in or so focused. And then you also have I'm talking about the extremes here. I just want people to understand that. Or you can be so flexible that you're like, okay, I'm not going to start my work day until 12 today. But then because you didn't check your emails, you missed an important question, or you missed a pop-up meeting, etc. So it really is. So that's part of it. The second part of it is remembering to hold fast to all those principles and characteristics and attitudes that you mastered in that work-life balance phase. That should still take you into that integration phase, to making sure that you are always successful. So not leaving behind your organizational structure, not leaving behind that communication factor, not leaving behind your support system. So even though gray looks more in favor of balance, really behind the color is all the things that you've mastered to get to that point of integration. So I just wanted to explain that thought a little bit more for you guys.
All right, great. Thank you for that explanation. And I guess if you want to break it down into a more practical sense, um, for example, somebody who works a 9 to 5 and they have a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
When they, for example, work is from 9 to 5, and I guess, between 6 and 9, they could work on the side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a case where they wake up before 5 o'clock, like maybe 3 o'clock or something, and they do some work on the side hustle. Some people can do that. I'm not
I
one of those
know.
people.
Kudos to
Yeah,
those folks.
right? And between maybe 10 and 11, you can have some time for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes on, that's just for one day. And when it comes on to the structure for a week, I would strongly suggest that you set aside a day for yourself to just relax. For us as Seventh-day Adventists, we have the Sabbath. That's Saturday, for those who don't know. Even if you're not a Seventh-day Adventist like us, you should have a day in which you can just relax and lay it all down, because I keep on stressing this, that yes, you might be passionate about your business or your side hustle or whatever it is, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
want the passion to burn yourself out. You are just one person, you're still a human being, you're not a machine. You need
Ex-
to rest, all right?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
find time to relax and do other things that doesn't have anything to do with the business, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
set aside a couple hours at least for that. So I can't
Yeah.
stress that enough. So because of that, you see, when you rest, it's easier to find balance. Because when you don't rest, trust me, talking from experience, when
That's
your
what I was
mind
kind
is
of picking
tired,
up there is
right?
the
When your
experience.
when your mind is tired, you see, it's more likely that you're gonna miss things. All of a sudden you forgot to respond to an email, or you forgot a meeting with a client, or something like that. Trust me. And you know, integration and balance is as we said before, very, very important when it comes down to not only business but your daily life. Even if you're not a business owner, or even if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have any interest in business, you still have to achieve balance with your work. Because if you're not in a business, you're most likely have a 9 to 5, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you still have to achieve balance, either way, whether you're in a business or not. So this is just the overarching lesson that we're
Yeah.
trying to, share with you guys.
Yeah, and an example of that I'm glad you mentioned that, Matthew, is a student, you still want to have fun, you still want to go and hang out with your friends, watch Netflix, whatever. But you want to get good grades too.
Right.
So it's that, you have to really take that time to enjoy life, to have time with your friends and families, but you also have to take the time to be a successful student. And the principle applies to really every aspect of life.
Right. So balance, time and place for everything, right?
One,
So when it is work time, it's work time. When it is business time, it is business time.
business time.
When it is play time, it is play time. Right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Something like that, right? All right.
I love
And
that.
the saying goes, work hard and play hard. You understand? So that's what we're trying to get here. And we're just
Yeah, man.
trying to explain how you can achieve this. And we've been through a couple of good points, but we just want to run through the benefits of achieving balance and or integration when it comes down to your life and business.
Sure,
Mm.
sure. When I was thinking about this last part of the video episode, I was thinking, are there any cons to having work-life balance, like, or work-life
No,
integration? I'm like,
I don't
oh,
think
no, no,
so.
no, 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 no. There's definitely no cons. So this is all benefits that you can look forward to in the grand scheme of having work-life balance and eventually getting to the point of integration and happiness. So
All right, so
here's
let's
your
go
check.
through them. Let's go.
Yeah, here's a checklist to keeping your life and work in check. These are some of the benefits you can look forward to. The first one is reducing stress levels. Um, Top thing, I know people who work in just life in general is just stressful. So when you have balance between all the things that go in, you can look forward to having a reduction in your stress
Stress,
levels.
right? And just to add to that, one of the reasons why your stress will be reduced is because you're in more control,
You got that organizational structure.
right?
Okay.
You're more in control of your outcomes, because a lot of people get stressed because of anxiety, because of the unknown.
Mhm.
They don't know what's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
So when you have more structure in your life, more balance, you can more see the outcomes of what will happen, and you feel less stressed about it.
Exactly. And that's what that all of this is playing into establishing those boundaries, like it's all about having those boundaries and making them work for you. So stress, reducing that. The second thing that you can look forward to is improved job satisfaction. And you could even say improve life satisfaction in general.
Right.
Really enjoying things a little bit more where, you're not so bogged down on, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I have to work, oh, I have to get my homework done, oh, I have to, you know, get my business, this and that. You're really being satisfied, like you're having that satisfaction in everything that you do. So that's a
Um,
benefit you can look forward to.
right. And just I have to add to that again.
Yeah.
A lot of the Unfortunately, a lot of the diseases that we experience here in the world in general is as a result of stress. You know that?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
And especially, well, a lot of the mental issues as well stem
Hmm.
from stress as well. So, trust me, having this balance in life will help you in all aspects of life, not just business.
Exactly. The other benefit that you can look forward to is having a deeper involvement in education, just a deeper involvement in general, in whatever aspect of life that you are. You can have a deeper involvement in it. So sometimes you might feel like you're a person who's always missing out on things because you're over here, or you're not as involved as you really want to. And that actually plays a part on the satisfaction scale and then also the stress scale.
Uh,
So being deep, having a deeper involvement also plays into, having more meaningful connections and spending more meaningful time with friends and family. And that actually leads into the next thing. A benefit you can look forward to is having a stronger connection with friends and family.
right.
Um,
And
okay,
the next point we also mentioned improved health.
boom. It's all
Yeah,
connected.
it's integrated, guys. It's all integrated.
I love that word.
And finally, we have higher levels of performance.
Boom,
Uh,
you already know that's my word.
yes, and look, when you're less stressed, you're getting your rest and all of that, and you have organized structure.
Hmm.
It is inevitable that you will perform better. Even at a 9 to 5, the boss can start wondering, wait, we have to probably give this person a raise, man. Very productive.
Yes, it becomes noticeable when you're a happier person in your job, even when you're dealing with you have a side hustle, a business, and you're dealing with your customers and clients. They see how happy and relaxed and involved you are. You
Right,
must say, no man, mega support that business here, mega buy this, or support it, because this person, the level of customer relations, the level of support that this individual is able to provide, and the level of work, the quality work and
right,
quality products that this person is able to provide, it really speaks volumes.
right. And of course, I keep going back to this episode of the Biz Motivation podcast. Well, the last episode actually. She said that the work will speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
When when you're dealing with clients, right? And every time they purchase something or they ask a question, they realize that you're answering in a way that makes sense, or you're producing what they're paying for in a short period of time. Your performance is so good that will encourage them to continue supporting the business
Yes.
because
Yes.
they trust you know that hey, you can perform. But in order to get to that level of performance, you have to have the balance first. So that's what we're really trying to get at here. Okay. So,
And I do
okay,
have one last thing before we close up, just
okay, go
two
ahead.
little nuggets. I know we talked about, I mentioned earlier about a few additional resources that you can look into. So after kind of watching this video and you're like, okay, you might have taken the quizzes or, looked at the questions and, you might be thinking, okay, how else can I improve in this arena of work-life balance? How can I get this, something I'm craving? How can I really achieve this? Additional resources you can look into is a book called Boundaries by Dr. John Townsend and Dr. Henry Cloud. That was actually recommended to me last night by a pastor. So definitely check that out. We'll have the name for you guys in the description as well. And then the second book I wanted to recommend is Life Matters. So kind of getting yourself out of that, like, I got to work, but also enjoying life as well. So you have to have the boundaries, but life matters. And this book is by A. Roger and Rebecca R. Merril, and it's actually coming from the book series with Stephen Covey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey is the writer, the author of that book. So it's a series from his network of authors. So two really important, and there's so many other books on boundaries, work-life balance, etc., that you can look into, but I just wanted to recommend those. If you're looking for ways to improve yourself and to really achieve that balance and integration your life so desperately needs, look into that, look into those books, and definitely take the quiz. Think about that.
All right. Awesome stuff. And that's a good note to end on. You see, we're not the only ones talking about this kind of stuff, guys. So rest assured, we're not telling you any foolishness on this podcast, right?
Exactly. And it just comes to show how affirming it is that, other people, other sources are talking about the same thing, because we all at the end of the day want the same thing, and that's to really be happy and to really fully enjoy life and all that it has to offer to us. So
All right. I guess that is the end of the show for today. Thank you very much, MONEIFIA, Mo Maitland, for making it again for yet another episode of the Mo for Your Mondays podcast. And this was a really good lesson for me as well. I did learn a few things, and I hope you did too, those who are listening. And I hope you do take those quizzes, read those books, and live that balanced lifestyle. So, MONEIFIA, do you have any final thing to say before we close?
Okay. Yes. One last nugget to share. And that's, thank you all so much for joining us this week. Again, I just want to kind of motivate you to join us for the next episode in the lineup. And that is gonna be on procrastination. I am a chief procrastinator, but hey, I want to motivate you on something here, that procrastination can be productive and enhance productivity. What? Is it
What?
possible? We will see in the next episode, so be sure to join us.
Wow. Well, we'll see.
It's like, can it? We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. So guys, ensure to like and subscribe. Click that notification bell. Of course, the links and names to the books and the quizzes will be in the description. Also, our contact information in terms of our emails, Instagram, what the other one, LinkedIn, all those stuff will be in the description. You can contact us about these kind of topics, and we will see how best we can help your business to improve and to be more balanced. All right. So until next time, this is Matthew Farkson, the Business Motivator, and this concludes episode 2 of the Move for Your Mondays podcast.
Walk good.
All right, bye everyone.